Today on Spirit Anima, we are going to be talking about dogs and what they teach you about your spiritual gifts, particularly telepathy, also your cosmic origins. Dogs have been with the cosmic star people since the very beginning. Dogs teach us. They are our greatest teachers, as are all matters of the heart, while they teach us about unconditional love and, of course, about death. With the death of anything, including a role, comes a new role. One time I had a friend who had a puppy that jumped out the back of her truck and died. And within weeks, she went to get a new puppy and she found the same type of puppy. And when she went to pick them up, they had the same exact collar that her dog was wearing previously. So it was kind of like he exited the game and came back in. And this is what dogs teach us about and our purpose here. The greater your heart, the greater your gifts. There's a reason that they say that dogs are the greatest gift of mankind. There are so many things that I wish I knew so much earlier, so I'm definitely going to share that with you, but it really comes with the help and the teachings of my dog as well, who has been with me for many lifetimes, and it shows up in our synastry chart. Very obvious that we have had many past lives together and have been in this for the long haul. The type of dog you have and the size of dog you have can tell a little bit about your heart as well, especially if you have a really strong soul contract. You may recognize that you and your dog actually share some similar features or the features of your true origin. They are barking at you because you are free. Have you ever been yourself, expressed yourself freely, loved freely, only to be judged? There were many times in my old neighborhood that we would take my dog for a walk, my dog and his human dad, and there were pathways in between houses with a sidewalk. And down the sidewalk, all the backyards were more like a fence that you could see through. They were like bars as opposed to a brick wall. So we could see into all the backyards, avoid these paths, and all the dogs didn't want to go down them because walking there were dogs that would bark at our dog. And I would say, no, I want to walk him down there sometimes. I want to walk him down there until he becomes non-reactive. This is a reminder that God will take you down paths. You will wind up down paths that people may bark at you. And sometimes you are sent down these paths until you become non-reactive as well. You must be able to walk freely without those on the outside being able to make you budge because of their opinions. And I would tell my dog when we are walking down these pathways, it's okay. They're only barking at you because you're free and they're behind the gate. And I love all dogs, so it was nothing against them. But I would tell him to, keep going, keep his head forward and mind his own business. Don't worry about what they say. Freedom is not comfortable for everyone because it requires you to go out of your comfort zone. So if you are free, you may be outside of somebody else's comfort zone. Pluto is the name of Mickey's dog. And I also wanted to note in here, although I didn't include it on the image, is that Rover is the name of Minnie's dog, which is about space exploration. It is a device that kind of goes over the land to check things out, kind of like how a dog sniffs out an area, like a hound, right? So Pluto is the planet of transformation and spiritual evolution. And the spirit, Pluto, and represents the soul that we have is on earth, how and where we experience transformation. It is of the Phoenix. Pluto is the Phoenix, and Pluto rules Scorpio, which is also the Phoenix. And speaking of Phoenix, Arizona is the home of Pluto. Pluto is the planet that breaks the walls down and ends cycles, the bad walls, the walls that are surrounding your heart, and all of the walls in the dream. This world is but a dream. So Pluto comes in and says, no more of this. It is time for this to end. And at the end of every cycle is a new beginning. Scorpio also rules death, and I do not think that there is a better teacher on this topic than dogs. As far as imagination being free, this is so much connected to our heart and soul. This is a reminder to be playful with the way that you are talking to the universe, to yourself, your thoughts, the way that you would be playful with a dog. Dogs are so incredibly playful. A dog is ready to go at any time. Anytime, if you are talking to them in this voice that's saying, are you ready? Let's go, and getting them all hyped up, the dog will be so stoked to do anything that you want to do. This is how you want to talk to the universe. If you are walking your dog and you say, no, bad, don't do that, the dog is going to lock up, right? And this is how it is when you have been yelled at. If you yell, at your pet, this is locking up and freezing your nervous system. This is blocking the flow of creative imagination. This is putting everything to a halt. But if you are saying positive things, wow, this is so good, this is so beautiful, this is really uplifting, and more in the spirit that you're ready to go at any time, the universe is going to respond to that differently. Practicing positive reinforcement with your thoughts and recognizing the way that you are speaking about the world, about yourself, and to others is very valuable. I remember so many years ago reading how a mom was talking to her friend on the phone, saying how good her son was doing the dishes. And he took that positive reinforcement and took it upon himself to do the dishes without her having to ask any longer, because it was really uplifting for him to be acknowledged. So, of course, we do not want to do this in a manipulative way, but you can alter your perception of the universe and the way it responds to you authentically, of course, when you are speaking to the world with positive reinforcement. This does not mean that we do not need boundaries and that there are not times that we have to say no and firmly. But in general, when we are speaking to others in the world with, uplifting, more positive reinforcement, we are going to get that response in return. And I will definitely add that in walking my dog, that is what made him be less reactive. Walking by and saying, good boy, keep going, he would lift his head up and keep trotting, as opposed to trying to, pull him away or tell him no. You have heard of the term underdog, and Pluto is a planet that they try to claim is not a planet. They tried to disclude it and just kind of count it out. But Pluto is a very small planet with a very, very heavy hand. Pluto is who is called in, and those who have heavy Pluto in their chart, to break things down. In fact, Pluto is the planet that teaches you your power, which we all know is why they want to not consider it a planet. Speaking of the underdogs, Anubis is the guardian of the underworld. Anubis is the protector of souls, of lost souls, of orphaned souls, and the guardian of the dead as well. And you can say that the sleeping are the dead. Dogs teach us so much about being orphaned. Dogs also teach us not having is truly a home within. Home is where the heart is. It is essential to have shelter, to have a shower, to have a kitchen to cook food in. What makes a house, a home, is what is in our heart, and being able to share that love with others and the love that we are putting into those we love, into our pets, into, what makes it feel like love. And this is also judgment. Dogs teach us that true judgment is of the heart. Not only are we judged at the end of our life in the weighing of the scales, Anubis takes us to this judgment, to the afterlife is where Anubis walks us, where our heart is weighed against the feather of Mot. But judgment is not only at the end of our life cycle. Judgment is at the end of every cycle. And the position that our heart is in at the end of a relationship cycle, for example, the end of a yearly cycle, and the end of a daily cycle before we go to sleep, what we are carrying in our heart comes with us into the next cycle, into the afterlife and the rebirth of that cycle as well. Dogs teach us forgiveness, and when we are holding on to resentment and pain and emotional baggage, this will show up in many different forms into the next cycle. Anubis is the guardian of secrets, and Scorpio rules secrets and sacred medicine, as well as alchemy. Alchemy and the process of transmutation. This is what our heart is experiencing here on earth. We walk through the fires where it is being refined and transformed and turned into gold. Scorpio rules transmutation. Scorpio is also the ruler of death. There was a time that I heard something saying, I cannot get to you because your dog is in their room, because my dog sleeps with me. So they obviously didn't belong here, but Anubis and dogs are also the protector of our dreams while we are sleeping. Libra rules art, judgment, and justice. There are many who are preparing for life and learning how to live, and then there are many advanced souls who understand that we are actually preparing for death and the afterlife. Those who are walking people through their end of life process, this is the highest and most honorable position that there is. Pisces is also of art, and all art comes from the heart. Pisces is also the last side that is helping us through the loss, releasing that emotional baggage and preparing for the afterlife. I did post a video, the last rites of a pet or of a dog crossing over. We also want to close out the cycles properly. Just as we begin new cycles, we want to close them out so we can release before we move into the next cycle. It just so happens while on this topic, a couple of days ago, I had an event. It was, 10-year-old's birthday party. And before they showed up, where we were setting up, there was a dead baby bird. It was just the bones. And there was another guy that was there, and we walked. I said, we better bury this bird. We should go take care of it so it wasn't in the area. And we went over and he put it under rocks and said his piece of words to the bird and releasing him and covered him up. And he came to me later that day and said, thank you so much for opening the doors for me to be able to do that. I feel really good about doing that. And I feel like I learned a lot in that today. That was the highlight of my time. I really appreciate it. And it is an experience to be had in letting things go and closing cycles out and giving them the peace of mind and peace of heart within oneself and within nature. Death is a natural part of the life cycle, including our relationships. Dogs are wonderful teachers, beautiful teachers. that come into our life and teach us a lot about these processes. Which takes us to the rainbow bridge, the rainbow that we cross over from this reality into the heavens. We can also access dreams by walking on the rainbow. The rainbow is the water and the sun, the mother and the father. This is a balance of the mother and father within our hearts, how we are born in equilibrium, our childlike nature. Dogs all go to heaven, and this is because they are here of service, and many rainbow children are also here in service. Service is of the heart. Evolution of the soul. This is where humans begin in their more animalistic nature. This is service to self. And as you evolve, you begin to learn that you are fully in service to humanity, to life, to others, to love. The heart is the bridge from the lower nature to the higher nature. The heart is the bridge from hell to heaven. That is indeed a picture of my dog in Sedona with a rainbow behind him. He began hiking in Sedona. I started taking him on his first birthday, and then the following 10 years he had spent hiking in Sedona. He absolutely loves Sedona, which takes us also to our cosmic origins. Sedona is home to many different types of star beings. Sedona is hardly the only location. In fact, Earth is a melting pot of many different types of star beings, and the planets are, of course, moving around us at all times, and we can learn a lot about each other through the stars as well. The stars and everything in the universe is truly and quite literally. When I was in school and taking pre-med type courses, I learned every single crevice of the bone of the body and the systems and the hormones and everything. And I began to truly understand that the way our body works, everything is basically truly pushed out. And this includes everything that is above and below. What is very interesting, when my dog was really little, the first year or two, there were times that I would look into his eyes and they would change right in front of me into what looked like star constellations. I can't even tell you how many times this happened. This was not only once or twice. There were many times that I looked into his eyes when he was much, much younger, that they would change to the stars right in front of me. He also used to hesitate probably until he was 4 walking through doorways. And I was convinced that he felt like he was going through a portal into another dimension, and maybe that is a little out there, but have you ever walked into another room and forgot what you were going in there for, right? So I couldn't help but feel like he remembered coming here, and maybe he didn't, but that's the way I saw it, and I still kind of do. There are also more and more children that are remembering and also being vocal about their journey in coming here, and that they do remember coming through a portal, and of course coming out of the mother's womb. This is also a portal. How far the soul is evolved will also play a part in how much one can remember about the cosmic origins. It's kind of hard for rainbow children to not be in tune with the stars at all, because they are more aware of where we come from than those who are much younger souls that are more logical and mental, and maybe even in the lower nature, they may deny the stars because they cannot remember this. Although many children will remember a lot of things about their past lives or where they were before they came here, and able to access other parts and dimensions, because this is coming from the heart. This is how we access other information that we cannot see, the information of the spirit. The spirit is of the heart, and the heart is of a highly intelligent cosmic origin. Although the portal thing I'm not fully sure on, and I wasn't completely into my mediumship at all at this point, did I understand exactly the extent of my mediumship at this time? What I do know for sure is that him and I definitely had telepathic communication, and this was not intentional. And how I noticed would be, I would wake up and see us hiking in Sedona. I would think about going, and he would jump off of my bed first thing in the morning without me moving or saying a word, and jump off the bed and look at me like, okay, for sure, I want to go. Are you ready? Which is not something that he would ever do. He wouldn't even move because he was sleeping, right? So I noticed this happen enough times that it became obvious, but then in other obvious ways, I would say order food from an app, right? When I used to do that. I lived by myself as well, so it's not like he was expecting somebody else to come at home, but I could order food on my app. Obviously, I didn't talk to anybody to call it in, and he would go and sit and wait by the door after I ordered it until the food showed up. There were other times I remember looking for a drink one time. I sat down and I was on the phone, and I was walking around looking for it forever. I could not find it. And he bumped into my leg and looked at the drink and knocked the drink over on the ground that I could not see, but that was his way of showing me, Mom, look, it's right here. That was the only way he knew how. I was looking for it for probably, honestly, like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but it wasn't like 3 minutes. And he had apparently been trying to show me, so he did. I obviously wasn't mad that at all that he knocked it over. I was really starting to understand when I'm looking for something. Oh, there was another time as well that was in more recent years. I was looking for a book, and I guess it was underneath my bed, and I didn't realize he started barking and looking underneath my bed. I didn't tell him I'm looking for a book. I didn't tell him anything. I was just walking around the house looking for it, and he started barking underneath my bed, and I was like, what's under there? That's really weird for him to bark underneath there. I didn't put it together at the time. That's what he was trying to show me. And the book was underneath my bed. Telepathic communication requires a very humble heart, and the more of a heart connection you do have with another, the more at ease this communication is and becomes. It is the vision of your heart that you are also using. We communicate with our heart. Our hearts have electricity flowing through them, and we can send these waves, but you receive what you are ready to receive when you are ready to receive it, not any earlier. But sometimes it is only a shift in perception. The more your heart expands, the more you recognize that everybody here is a mirror to one another, and your dog is a personal mirror to you. Sometimes this may show up in physical features. There may be some type of similarities, and if it is a very strong soul contract, and if you do not notice physical similarities, sometimes they will resemble traits of your main star origin or your higher self. But otherwise, they are mirroring your personality, your traits, your mannerisms, your behaviors, your habits. Sometimes, oftentimes your food habits. You may notice that your dog is able to fit into your lifestyle, is able to tolerate and likes the foods that you like, and may not be able to tolerate the foods that you cannot tolerate. I am a very picky eater. My dog is a very picky eater, but I am also grain and gluten and flour free. My dog cannot have grain food at all. My dog cannot tolerate beef at all. And he loves fruit. Of course, he gets a full diet of his needs and what he eats, but he also likes a lot of the same fruit that I like in addition to that. Your dog can and will reflect other medical issues or physical issues or ailments, as well as pain. One dog that I knew had gotten a spinal injury when he jumped off of an ottoman, an actual spine injury with nerve damage. And we found out later that the dog's human mom had spinal cancer in that same area of the spine, the lower spine. So that was really a way of the dog showing that this was going on before we knew what was going on. I used to be really sensitive around the root chakra area and the bones around that area. My dog also was extremely sensitive around that area and did not like being pet in that area. There was a woman I spoke to recently who told me that an old dog of hers showed her how much change can be because her dog had a very violent past and she completely turned around, and she felt that it was a reflection of hers as well. But I knew that this woman had a very violent past life and that this came in from the past life. And violent doesn't always mean that we're violent. Sometimes we are put in violent situations as well. Things can always change and can always turn around. Dogs oftentimes do reflect as well when we are in abusive relationships. They reflect, are you nervous? Are you attached? A lot of the mannerisms of your dog are actually reflecting something underlying that is not obvious. That's what the mirror does, is it reflects a lot of the things that are in the shadows, the subconscious, and what we cannot see, the parts of our heart that we cannot see as well. And this does include the love that we really truly need and desire. Dogs are highly empathetic and they can be overly forgiving. Dogs are very forgiving, but sometimes too forgiving. If somebody is talking down to a dog, trying to destruct a dog, trying to hurt a dog and bring them down, this hurts their confidence. How well a dog is maintained, how well a dog is spoken to, how well a dog's eyesight is. This all affects their confidence. Dogs are reflections of abuse that may be taking place in our own home, of course, out in the world, and how well we talk to ourselves and how well we talk to others. Dogs are wonderful mirrors of what's really taking place and also our mannerisms. If you are familiar with medical astrology and the planets and how they affect our body, our organs, and our systems at different times, there was an eclipse that was transiting my sixth house of pets and animals and health. This eclipse, I also had a really good friend that it was transiting the same house of pets and animals and health and service. Over the eclipse, my dog wound up in the emergency vet. He had a severe bout of pancreatitis, so we had to take him in, and that's what it was. A day or two later, I call my good friend whose this eclipse was transiting again the same house. Her dog got hit by a car. She lives across the country. Her dog got hit by a car 2 days before her wedding. And although he did make it, he had to have some pretty serious surgeries. Yet again, another example of how everything, including the cosmos and one another, all the plants, all the animals, we are all connected, and we are mirroring each other's reality back to one another. And those who we have a lot in common with, we are connected, but we are also connected to those we do not have a lot in common with. And this is also what dogs teach us about unity, but with individuality. We can still embrace each other's individuality, embrace each other's differences. A giraffe and an octopus have completely different lifestyles. We eat completely different food. We are not going to understand life the same. We're not going to see life the same. A giraffe and or a giraffe and an octopus, or an octopus and right? They're all going to be different, but that doesn't make one right or one wrong because they eat this or do believe this or don't believe this or like this or don't like this. Yet every plant and every animal has a very important contribution to society and to our cycles. There are different breeds of dogs. There are different types of humans. There are different types of bears. But bears are bears, humans are humans, dogs are dogs. We can look different, we can be different, we can like different things, we can embrace our individuality while still embracing others. Dogs are teachers of the heart. The sun is shining light on all different areas, all different types of people, all different types of plants, all different types of animals, not only some and not others. The sun connects us all, and the heart connects us all, and the sun is the center of all the different cosmos, the different types of animals, the different types of people that share all of the traits, but certain traits and certain planets and certain behaviors, some more than others, different than others. Everyone is not meant to be alike, to think alike, to see alike. And we express this by expressing ourselves and through our art. We want to remember this before we are judging others for their choices, their lifestyle, anything about them, their appearance, their past, their future. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you think about yourself? The world is going to reflect that to you. In fact, if you understand the mirror effect, or maybe even actors and actresses, if you are playing that part, the universe is going to catch up with you. It is going to reflect that back to you. The same way that you tell a dog and get him hyped up, hey, let's go. And he follows and gets hyped up too. And then if you were to go in a different mode, the dog is also going to reflect that back to you. Pay attention to what you are seeing, what you are thinking, what you are saying, and what you are doing. Dogs need to move. They need exercise. They need to move the fascia through the body. This is why they can't hold a grudge, right? We hold a lot of our pain and our trauma and our nervous system and our fascia. You want to move the lymph to prevent infection. Also, for heart health, exercise also helps our mental health. And dogs need to play. They need to walk. They need to run. And not only that, they look forward to it. They enjoy it. And also need to be out in nature. This connects us to our heart matrix. This cleanses our spirit as well. It is part of the natural system. And dogs remind us and also give us a really good reason to get out in nature, to go for walks. Have you ever noticed that a dog will oftentimes rub their back on the ground or on the grass upside down? This is them recalibrating their system to Earth's energy grid. Just like when dogs are going to the bathroom, they have to find a spot and face in a certain direction. They are naturally attuned to Earth's energy grid. So are all the animals. when we are not in alignment with our path, it can be hard to recognize the connection. When you are on the connection of your heart grid and Earth's grid as they are all one, then you will notice a lot more synchronicities and everything flows together fine. Just like dogs are not so much worried, or other animals, about when their next meal's going to come, right? They know when they're in alignment that everything works out as it is meant to. Dogs need very high quality protein. My dog personally is on grain-free dog food. This is even more of a reason to make sure that high quality protein is a part of their diet. When he was a puppy, he got really bad ear infections the first probably 9 months of his life. And after the third time, it was maybe the fourth, I told the vet, I'm not paying for another appointment because we've already seen you guys and you keep giving us the same medication. Why is this happening? What can we do to stop it? And she said, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Some dogs are just prone to ear infections. Very gratefully, I already had happened to know a lot, read a lot, and had a lot of time invested in yeast and grain food and flour food. So I understood that this can cause yeast infections because there's a lot of yeast. This can cause inflammation, skin conditions in humans and animals. This is why animals will lick their paws. And it can also, in humans, cause brain fog and a lot of gut health problems. It can block nutrients from absorbing. So I stopped feeding him grain food and I put him on probiotics, and they did not come back except for the only time he had grain again. For example, one time his grandpa gave him something that had grain in it, and the next day he woke up with a bright red ear infection that he would not stop scratching at. So he does not have grain food. He cannot have it. If you are going to give your dog grain food, you can still give them probiotics, and this will be really helpful to help them digest, the food, because it is said that grain-free food can cause heart conditions, but it has been tested that this can also be due to having too many chickpeas and other lentils and things in the grain-free food and not a high quality protein. My dog gets a protein and a vegetable mixed in with his dry food every single meal. You don't want to go back and forth. This can mess up their gut. It is every meal he'll get salmon and asparagus or eggs or something, right, with his dog food. Coconut oil is also really good for managing not only some autoimmune issues, but also with the yeast and digestion. It is really good for the skin. He absolutely loves coconut oil. I just give him a spoonful plain by itself. I used to mix it with his food. I don't do that anymore, but he has had really good results with coconut oil. That is something I was taking myself, and I had papers given to me from the vet that states that a lack of taurine can cause heart conditions as well. So including taurine and amino acids, which I also give my dog for heart health, is absolutely vital. But this is not only for dogs, this is for humans as well. However, you do not want to give dogs human versions of any supplements or anything like that. You want to give them the kind that they make for dogs, and they do make taurine and enzymes and CoQ10 for dogs, and a little bit of magnesium helps as well with heart health, with muscle health, and with anxiety. My dog had extremely painful hips. You could tell to the touch as he got older. I happen to have really bad hip pain in one side of my hip to the point I could barely walk him for a few months. It was actually a little bit longer, and it was really, really bad. So when I got him supplements, I found some that had MSM, and they were said to have worked really, really well for many senior dogs. So I bought them for him, and then I bought myself MSM, and my hip pain improved drastically. So this is again that mirror effect that was really helpful. I knew that I also needed taurine and MSM, and they really, really helped me. Probiotics are good. You do not want to overdo it, but they are always good. As far as pain relief, the hip and joint supplements with MSM has by far been the most beneficial. And also, in addition to that, turmeric dog treats were and are great for inflammation as well as a few other benefits. Please do your own research. This is not a full list, but these are foods that are highly toxic for dogs and they should not have for any reason. Avocado is more on the questionable. They say in some cases in small amounts, it's okay. My dog has had it in small amounts, but if it can be toxic sometimes, it's not even worth the risk. But everything else on this list is just because we do not see a response and a reaction on the outside does not mean that it is healthy or safe on the inside. This also is not a full list. Please do your own research. These are foods that are generally safe for dogs to eat, and these are foods that I also give my dog. I will give him raw asparagus as well as cooked. Same with carrots. Asparagus, I will buy a bundle and clean it really well and just give it to him as a snack and a treat throughout the day. He eats very little dairy. He really liked yogurt when he was little, not when he was older, and he gets cheese sometimes. And again, this is not a full list, but these are foods that we can add and incorporate with their diet or give them as snacks that they tend to enjoy. And again, I really think that dogs, they tend to kind of align with our eating habits, but this does not include processed food, sugar food, baked goods, whipped cream, high sodium foods, anything like that is really unhealthy. There's 0 point in giving them unhealthy food that we know is going to harm them. Sirius is the blue dog star. It is a star that is a part of the Canis Major constellation, also known as the Heavenly Wolf, the dog of the sun, and the dog that leads. The Dogon tribe was very familiar with Sirius A and Sirius B. Keep in mind, the beginning of the Dogon is dog. And by the way, dogs are wonderful, wonderful leaders. And this is because they lead with their heart. Again, this is where we are crowned. It is not the ego that is crowned. It is not in the material world that we are crowned. Our crown is a golden crown that has been refined in the fire, shaped in the fire, and that is of my dog. Also happens to be blue. He is a blue nose, and of course matches the color of this star. There is so much that we can tell about our cosmic origins through one another. This is how we learn about ourselves and our relationships, is by looking at other people. Where do they come from? What are their traits like? What animals are they like? What are their habits, their tendencies? What type of words do they speak? What is their name? There is a lot we can find out about ourselves and the universe from our relationships alone, our friendships, the people we meet, the experiences we have. Truly, everything is a reflection. Unlike humans, dogs come in with their heart prepared for service. Their heart is already mastered. They have already mastered loyalty. So what happens on our path is we must experience betrayal. We are here to master the heart, which how are we going to do this without having relationships and family and companions? Dogs teach us the importance of forgiveness. We tend to live in a society that believes we come here to gain, that every person that comes into our life is to bring us gifts and good things, that we are here to accumulate things, when really life is about letting go, which means we will have people that come into our life that are going to force us to let go of a version of ourselves. The only fruit that we truly gain, the only fruit that we can take with us, are the fruits of our heart, the 9 fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, gentleness, faithfulness. Just as there are beginnings, there must be endings. If you are carrying pain in your heart, resentment, betrayal wounds, the dog reminds us to let those go. Let go of the emotional baggage. Do not take that suitcase into the next cycle. The dogs teach us to trust beyond what you can see. There's so much going on beyond what is in front of you, and purpose behind our relationships. So long as you are staying loyal to your path and to your truth, you will not be budged by those who are not staying loyal and true to you or to their path. You must be able to see beyond what is in front of you, and dogs teach us to do this by using the vision and the eyesight of your heart. Your heart has the sense of smell, the sense of vision, the sense of taste. You can see and feel and hear things beyond what is in front of you. And so can dogs. Activate the senses of your heart.